Bismarck State will have football for the first time in 4 decades. You'll meet the man to lead the new team. Plus, how ESPN values FCS football. Hot Mike begins now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. I was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Welcome to the, hey, they may be pretty good edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra. KSFL TV, good morning everybody in Sioux Falls, KMBN in Western South Dakota, and all parts in between at Inforum.com. Happy Hump Day, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday Spectacular on this 17th day of the month. We're a week out from the fun beginning. Big day today here at our studios as we shipped off all of our donated toys. Anybody did that to the Toyland Express was awesome. Our front lobby was filled. It's now empty, which is great to see. So those are going to be going to some well-deserved kids here over the next few days. Great to be with everyone here on a Wednesday. We got a lot to get to today. Bison Media Zone back today. Special in-studio guest, Grant Olson, North Dakota State defensive coordinator, will join us coming up at about 10:30 to discuss, obviously, the end of the year and now looking ahead to 2026. We'll get to that coming up later on in the show. Excited about our conversation with Grant. We got a couple of fun guests today as well. Football-heavy theme show this morning. If you missed it yesterday out in Bismarck, they have now got a football coach for the newly created or newly rediscovered football team at Bismarck State. Chris Stutzriem is his name. He was coaching at Rocky Mountain in the same conference that Bismarck State will be playing in the Frontier in the fall of 2027. They now have a coach here at the end of 2025. He'll join us to chat about leaving a job and taking a new one, and obviously the challenge of now getting a team. That what lies in wait, where they're playing, all that stuff. That's exciting, I know, for people on the western side of the state, that Bismarck State going from a 2-year school to a 4-year school. We chatted about that with Myron Schultz, the outgoing AD, about this time last year, I think, is when they made that announcement. And obviously they've got a brand new basketball arena that's being built out in the capital city. So some big-time stuff going on there. We'll check in on that coming up later on in the show. I mentioned off the top that they may actually be pretty good is twofold. On the Minnesota Wild, who keep winning, which we'll get to in a second, it also reflects for the Bison women's basketball team. And now, before we show you what happened yesterday, here's a quick reminder of where this program was a decade ago. Bad, okay? That they routinely would win between 7 to 10 games for the season. They had a year where they were so bad they'd even make the Summit League tournament. That's when, in the old days, when they only had the top 8 go, North Dakota State wasn't even there. The fan base got apathetic, which is not a spot you want to be in with any athletic program, because that means people don't care of how bad you were. So the fact, as we sit here this morning on the 17th of December, and this year's iteration has 9 wins before they've even started league play, is a sign that things are going in a different direction. The fact that they may have the player of the year on their roster, certainly one of the best mid-major players in the country, it's time to start paying attention, okay? I mean, they are back here in a couple weeks before the new year, and then they're going to start league play on the road. But once the calendar turns to January, the challenge has been thrown down on this program. Go watch them play. Or if you're not going to do that, watch them on our air, because this team looks like they have a chance to do something potentially special when we get to late February and March. Yesterday, they were playing in Malibu, California, the start of a 2-day tournament against the Pepperdine Waves, who are the host school in this event. they got to find out that Avery Coonan is all right at basketball. She started hot in this game and didn't cool off. Bison got out to a 6-point lead. Marissa Frost, a little floater in the lane. Bison up 6. Move to the second quarter. They go up here by 11 on a Molly Lenz triple to make it 24-13. Coonan stop and pop, just threw that one at the basket and goes in. Bison led by 9 at the break. Second half, though, Pepperdine got its act together. They led going to the fourth quarter. That is a tremendous pass underneath to Lena Falk. It's a 6-point Pepperdine lead with 5 minutes to go. Back in the Bison. Jossie Schiller to Lenz in the corner for a huge 3. That cuts the deficit to 1 at 68-67. Now 70-67. Kraswinski misses. Coonan the putback, who was unstoppable yesterday. Bison down 1. Same score. Molly Lenz missed the first free throw, rattles home the second to tie the game at 70. So Pepperdine's going to have a chance to win the game. Baseline drive here. That's great defense by Lenz. It's short. She gets the ball. Has a chance to win it, and it's just short. And the game goes to overtime, tied at 70. In the extra session, the Bison took over from there. Schiller, boy, when clutch moments, remember her high school career, she was unstoppable. There, turnaround jumper puts the Bison up 4. Here off the kick from Coonan, a monster 3. That put the Bison up by 5 with 3 minutes to go in overtime. Watch this drive from Marissa Frost. Here an and 1. Bison go up 6 after she makes the free throw at 81-75. Talked about Marissa on Monday's show of how much clutch she's been. Pepperdine, though, wouldn't go away. This drive from Ellie Guinea makes it 82-80. So Kraswinski is fouled. All she has to do make basically one free throw to seal it. She misses both. Pepperdine has a chance to win the game, but that shot is off the mark. And North Dakota State survives an 82-80 win in overtime. The 5th consecutive double-double for Avery Coonan. 29 and 12, and she barely came off the floor. They played 45 minutes yesterday. She played 38 of them. Schiller was fantastic with 15, including 6 of 7 at the line. By the way, Avery hit 13 free throws. Let's talk about that, because that's something that I know Amy Rulli's been talking about over the last couple years of her ascension of the game. That was clutch. Frost was great with 14. Bison, that's a huge win. Again, Pepperdine had not lost at home yet in 2025-26. And now the Bison in true road games have yet to lose either. So point that out as well, considering how well the start of this season has gone. Now at 9-2 on the year. They're going to be right back at it later today. Now this is going to be a tester. They've got the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley coming up at 4 o'clock today in a game that's not going to be streamed. This is the 3rd time already. The Bison are going to have a game that just is out there in the ether that we'll have to follow. But this is awfully impressive, folks. They've got a chance. After this game, they're off for the Christmas holiday. They'll be back. They'll play St. Mary's out of the MIAC on December the 29th. And then it's on a Summit League play. So there's a real chance they could be 11-2 by the time Summit League play begins after the first of the year. We've been talking about this, I think, honestly, since the Tulane game. They have not lost since that Nebraska game where they scared the heck out of the Huskers. That was a month ago. All right? They've won 7 games in a row since that stretch. So here's your fair warning that it's time to get off your keister and go watch them play. At the end of the year last year, there were some great crowds for those 3 postseason games at the Shack and the WNIT. Kept getting better from New Mexico State to Washington State to the Troy game. And you heard Jory Collins say that we have higher aspirations this year. Obviously, NCAA tournament is what we're looking at. He mentioned the WBIT, which is the second tournament that's sponsored by the NCAA. That's what they're aiming for. Obviously, the big fish is out there. And I know, and it's fair to say back to me, Dom, come back and talk to me when they beat the Jackrabbits. And you're absolutely right about that. Bison haven't beaten SDSU in 10 years, right? SDSU hasn't lost a league game in 3. So we're going to pump the brakes. But doesn't mean that they're not good. And let's see what happens. They play the Jacks middle of January, and then in the end of the regular season. It's the last game of the regular season, next to last game of the regular season, February the 26th. That game is at the Shack. Then let's circle back then. If they're able to beat them, then we can have a different conversation. I'll just say now, let's just do Avery Kunin's stat line here, what she's done this season. Because she's playing at a level where, again, player of the year is not out of the realm of possibility. She's been done in double figures every game. She's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games of 20 points or more, including 3 in a row. And we mentioned the double-double streak, which started, by the way, ironically, in the first game of the season where she scored 0 points in the first half against Northern Iowa, and still finished with a double-double. She's averaging now up to 19 points and 10 rebounds a game. Is that good? I think people aren't aware of what's happening with this team. Last 3 games for, let's go back to the Nebraska game, where everybody, I think, was widely considered she was the best player on the floor. Had 26 there. Had 22 against Tulane, 12 against Campbell, 19 against Bethune-Cookman. Montana State, 16 points, 11 rebounds. Weber State, 21 and 10. Eastern Illinois, 22 and 16. And then last night, 29 and 12. As I mentioned in a row, 5 straight double-doubles. I'm not a great basketball mind, but I'm told that's pretty good. So they're on a run right now. We'll see if they can. Today's a challenge. After having overtime and the kind of energy they expounded yesterday, we'll see if they can come back and get a win here today. But congrats to them on a big win yesterday. Also, by the way, they're pretty good. The Minnesota Wild, because evidently they can't lose at home. They pretty much can't lose at all after the addition of Quinn Hughes, which was the big trade on Friday night. They just keep on rolling. Last night it was the Washington Capitals that came into Grand Casino Arena and found out this team, by the way, just bag the other jerseys and wear these all the time. Not sure why we're messing around. Vladimir Tarasenko is scoring, who they added in the offseason. Hadn't done much yet. That is 4th of the year. It's a 1-zip lead. This guy all he does is score goals. This is now his record, franchise record, 70th power play goal for Kirill Kaprizov. He always around the net, just the right place. 2-0, Wild through 2. They would pour it on in the third. Off the faceoff, Tarasenko just blasts it home. And again, Washington's not a bad team. And the Wild were skating circles around them. Love those ones off the draw. A little one-timer, hams it home. Makes it a 3-0 Minnesota lead. They were getting goals from everybody. Danila Yurov would answer here for the Wild. Again, they've got enough young players. They were able to move Zeev Buium. They were able to move Rossi to get Hughes. They think Yurov could be a star. That's his 4th. That made it 4-0 on a nifty pass from Tarasenko. Why not one more? Matt Boldy, shorthanded. Remember how good he is? He comes in. That's his 19th of the year. The Minnesota Wild win it 5-0. They are 10-0-2 at home since the 1st of November. That's allegedly pretty good. They improved to 29-5 on the year. Gustafsson with his 3rd shutout of the year. Let's talk about how good the goaltending has been, because Jesper Wallstedt has been amazing. I'm here to tell you, maybe the winter sports teams in the state of Minnesota might be all right, because the Wolves are doing okay. They're in action tonight. The Wild are clicking off wins. Quinn Hughes, for his effort last night, played half the game, played 30 minutes of hockey last night, and had an assist after he scored a goal in his first game with the team. So we'll pay attention to that as they get set. Of course, their arena going to be taken over here by the World Juniors, which begin right after Christmas down in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Big event coming up here over the next little bit. We got a big show on tap for here on this Hump Day Wednesday. Our guest lineup is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Coming up in just a couple minutes here, Drew Trafton will join us. It is the week of weeks for our guy, Drew. The Seahawks play the Rams tomorrow night, allegedly a pretty big game in the NFC. And, of course, the game on Saturday, we have got it confirmed. He was talking about going we'll see if he's going to make the trip to Bozeman into enemy territory for him, for the Grizz and the Cats, coming up here in just a few minutes. At 9:35, as I mentioned, Bismarck State's new football coach, Chris Stutzriem, will join us. Announced yesterday as the new coach, taking over a program. Where is he finding players? All that kind of stuff coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, I'm really excited to have Bill Connelly join us from ESPN, college football reporter. We've mentioned Bill several times throughout the year that he has the SP Plus Index, where he ranks all 300 or so college football teams. And North Dakota State for a while was in the top 35 of that. Ask him how he even ranks them and his evaluation of FCS teams as we head into Final Four weekend. So looking forward to that conversation with Bill coming up at 10 o'clock. And again, as I mentioned, Bison Media Zone today at 10:30 will feature North Dakota State defensive coordinator Grant Olson will join us here in studio. So that's going to be a fun half hour there. So we're off and rolling. Glad you're joining us here on the Calm Before the Storm Wednesday. We come back. Get you ready for the Brawl the Wild game, Part 2. Cats Grizz for a trip to Nashville. It's coming up back on Hot Mic right after this.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
Our highly anticipated segment with our guy Drew Trafton in the week of weeks. This is a little bit coming up for you,
coming
huh?
up, yeah. We got some things happening.
All right, let's get some business out of the way.
Yeah.
The Hot Mic Fantasy Football regular season ended on Sunday or Monday night. I crashed out against Ryan Longnecker, who's on vacation. Longnecker didn't even dress a guy, right? So this is a layup, right? He's not even thinking about it. And I still couldn't win. The only saving grace of me finishing last for the second time in 4 years is that Alex Berger lost as well.
Yeah.
So he finished 5-10, so he ends up finishing in last. How about our guy Bobby? Bobby, who was in here 2 years ago, had the whole written statement.
Yeah.
Finishes, he and Engen, who finished last year,
right. Then
tie on top.
Yeah, they flipped the table, and that's what's kind of unique about this league, because it's really
Look
not
at that,
about
look how tight that was here.
And it's not about who finishes first. It's really like you're just so worried about that
Dylan
last
actually
place.
scored less points than I did and finished fourth. Like, how's that work?
Yeah.
And look at you. You scored less points than I did.
Everybody. I scored less points than everybody, and I ended up in the middle of the pack. Yeah, it was a weird year.
So there it is. So Alex can now get on the clock to prepare his speech, and he will have the number one pick come next summer for 2026.
Pick his team name too, so we got to start getting creative there.
I told you on the break here, and then this will be the end of it. Justin Jefferson sank my team. Think about that.
Yeah.
That the Vikings couldn't make that work
Your
all year
first
long.
round pick. Yeah.
My gosh.
That's the NFL for you.
Speaking of which, the game tomorrow night, big one. Rams,
huge.
Seahawks.
Yeah.
Sources indicate this might be a large game for the NFC West and for the number one seed.
Seeding, yeah. I mean, this is going to be the tail of the tape. And I mean, like even like you have the San Francisco 49ers there lurking a game behind. They could technically still get that one seed. So, yeah, it's going to be a huge game. And I'm not in love with how the Seahawks have been playing the last, 3-4 weeks.
All you had was 6 field goals to beat the Colts.
Yeah, and Vikings
Rivers.
fans watched a couple weeks ago when they played, and it's like that offense just wasn't working, and so it's been kind of frustrating on that side of the ball. Their defense has been so good, though.
Really good.
That first matchup against the Rams, it was a 3-point game. The Seahawks had the ball at the end of the game. They could have won. So it'll be a fun game. For Thursday night games, I mean, this has to be the best Thursday night game we've had the NFL's had in probably a couple seasons.
Yeah, this one's pretty juicy here for them.
I mean, it's like it's going to dictate a lot, outside of just the NFC West race. But,
now, our guy Dave from Minot tweeted us last night. Did you get that? Because the Seahawks are wearing their rivalry. Does it look like the Jets colors?
Well, it's
what
like
Dave was saying.
It's that transitionary like helmet thing. Okay. So it's like a green. So it's like it's a green helmet, which is interesting, but it kind of like has that weird shimmer to it. And it goes from like a metallic color to that green color.
Okay.
I thought it looked horrible when they released the jerseys. It's like, this looks awful. I didn't like the Seahawks rivalries at all. And
I
then,
didn't like the Jets ones either, frankly. The only one that looked good were the Patriots ones.
Those
the
look pretty
Patriots
sharp.
ones. The Cardinals ones were okay. That's
I didn't even like I thought it looked like a tortilla. Like it was just like really weird look. It's like this desert sand thing. But I mean, these are like just blah. It's like their wolf gray.
I can't really
uniforms
tell
from a few years ago.
From that photo, it looks like the helmet's a navy blue.
Yeah,
on that.
and it's a green.
Okay.
But the video they had of them, those videos now are so
dramatic.
Everybody does them.
Yes.
And then you see the helmet. So this video here, or we have a video of like them getting the helmets ready, the equipment crew, and it's very green, and it's like that looks okay.
What's the harm in?
I
see. I can understand why Dave flipped out because that does look like the jet
it's very
colors
green,
on that.
right?
Yeah.
On that. And then like the semi-transparent logo, which is
okay.
It'll be
What's
okay.
the harm in wearing the throwbacks? Those are the best uniforms out there.
Yeah,
just do that or call it good.
Make the rivalries jerseys kind of reflective of the throwback, but here we are.
All right, so that's chapter 1 on Thursday, and then obviously everyone knows what's going on. Right, the main course is Saturday. I will say this: watch, and I was only listening to the game Saturday because I was out doing. I had a Saturday free for the first time in 15 years.
That?
And I heard the score. I'm like, all right, well, that's not unexpected. I thought Montana would win the game. I thought it might be closer, but man, playing in that stadium when they get things going offensively, this is. I mean, the 102 points in 2 games is really, really impressive.
Yeah, they're humming. And just. Ayat has been
really good.
I've never seen him play like this before. I mean, the last 2 weeks, he is just like on a different plane. I don't know what's happened to that guy. And he's been getting. I mean, he had a good season, like a really good season, but it just like things are working for that offense in a way that they just haven't. All year. And I mean, South Dakota, like they're a gritty team. SDSU, like their defense has had moments in the season where, like Indiana State, where it's like, what happened? And I don't know if that's what happened when they played the Grizz, but that offense is really clicking. And South Dakota just, they shot themselves in the foot a lot in that game. Like 9 false starts, I think it was. They just weren't ready.
It was reminiscent of what happened with the Bison out there 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The Bison had 7 in the semifinal game a couple years ago.
And it's a loud stadium, and we talked about that to death, but it's a different kind of loud.
No doubt.
Because they're just, and we've talked about this too, the fans are right on top of you. There is
and
very
it was
little
warm,
space.
By the way, it was like 50 degrees in Missoula on Saturday.
And I was worried because in the eastern part of the state, they got 16 inches of snow, like 2 days before that, and then it rapidly melted. But there are people just giving away their tickets because they're like, I can't go. Like, we can't get there.
It was packed, though. It was a great environment.
Yeah.
That, Wortham is such an X factor on how they use him. And they had another special teams touchdown to start the second half.
Yeah.
It's like, man, Montana just does this better than anybody else.
And it was a senior who has never done that before, Drew Deck. And he just, I mean, it was great. And Bobby Houck is known for special teams. Like that's something that he excels at. And,
all right. So you're from your part of the world, and we brought this up, and we've had a couple emails come in because we have people that watch the show that either live in Montana or are originally from Montana. I've posited this is the biggest sporting event in the history of the state. We had one submission of a boxing match with Jack Dempsey 1923 that was in Shelby, which I was not aware of, which is fantastic. I still claim this is the biggest thing to happen in the state in sports. It has to be.
In living memory.
I mean, that's 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, people don't remember anything about that.
No. And this is, I mean, I was expecting it to be a lot, like, in terms of just like the anticipation, but it is like, it's the nastiest I've ever seen it on social media.
It is really bad.
It is brutal. And
like if you stick your head out and say and say anything, it's chopped off.
Yeah.
It's what you love. I mean, this is what rivalry is all about.
A nickname has emerged for this game, which the Super Brawl.
What do you make of that?
I didn't love it at first, but it's just been like everybody's just been picking it up, and so it's like we've got a Super Brawl. It's like that's pretty cool. It's just like and just. the conversation around the game has just been like, you can't avoid it if you're in this sphere on social media.
The Cats are bringing out the heavy hitters. Apparently, Malot's going to be at the game on Saturday.
Troy Anderson's
going to be
there.
Holy cow!
They're bringing all the guys back. Yeah,
and we've seen this. We've done this dance 6 times here when the Bison and the Jackrabbits have played in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's to see this happen on this scale.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a second round game. I think because we were talking about this, we're going to have the commissioner of the Big Sky on the show tomorrow. If this was in Nashville, I don't know if it would have the kind of impact that it has on honestly. I think it's better that it's in either Bozeman or Missoula.
I do too, because it's just like the whole, and we've talked about this for all of the Brawl of the Wild games, like it's just the whole state shuts down.
Yeah.
It's
They're moving high school games, I saw.
Yeah.
Sean Rainey was tweeting yesterday that they're moving games from Saturday to Friday so everyone can watch the game.
It's like, and that's when, when we talk about like the best rivalry in the FCS, it's like it's in state, and it matters to everybody. You claim a side. You claim, like, even if you have no affiliation with either school, it's like it's your responsibility to decide if you're a Grizz fan or a Cat fan, and like that's your side of it. It's just it's insane.
All right, so everyone wants to know, are you going?
Well, if you've looked at ticket prices, you might.
I just did here in the break. You can. I mean, these are outrageous for some of these.
The buy-in is yesterday. The buy-in was close to $600 before fees.
There's
for one ticket.
$1,800 to sit behind the end zone.
Yeah,
here.
it's so the college football playoff for the FBS starts this weekend as well, and the buy-in price for the Super Brawl is like 7 times the most expensive buy-in price for one of those games.
There's literally a game in College Station.
Yeah.
There's a game in Autzen Stadium in Oregon. Yeah. And it's going, this is the ticket
way more.
of the
and
weekend.
there are only 22,000 tickets. And the way the Cats did it was they allowed all their season ticket holders to request an additional 8 seats.
Which is outrageous, by the way.
And so when there was no general sale to the public. The tickets never went on sale. So it's... And they did that in order to, of course, like preserve home crowd. But the way Montana works, as we've been talking about, families, there are so many families, mine included, that are half Cats, half Grizz. And so it's like those season ticket holders are going to be giving some of those tickets to Grizz
Montana fans. Yeah.
It's going to be a split crowd, and it's going to be it's going to be a fun game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I just don't see that happening. The Grizz have been playing so much better in the playoffs.
Yeah. Now, they have not won in Bozeman in
2015 was the last
so it's
year.
a long
Hauk hasn't
time.
won in his second stint there.
Yeah, that's a thing, too.
The Grizz are 2-13 on road playoffs, but I'll tell you what. I think the Grizz are winning this game.
Really?
And I know I'm as biased as can be, but I like just even like analytically as I break down this game, I'm like, the Grizz are playing better. They're playing better.
This reminds me so much of last year when the Bison and Jacks were playing again. Because the Jacks were humming in their 2 playoff games, and the Bison did not play great against Abilene. They were down 2 touchdowns and came back and won. They looked okay against Mercer, and then they
had to fight their way into the Jacks.
And then played the Jacks, and obviously they played a great game against South Dakota State. It's so similar because the Jacks tore off Montana and they killed Incarnate Word before they played the Bison. Montana's done the same thing here, and how they've ripped through both the South Dakota teams. I'm not picking against Vigs at home. I think Montana State will win this game, but I would not be surprised if Montana wins either.
It's just anything can happen. I mean, they're very good teams. Both of them are very good. I mean, they're good squads. And so
Montana State has looked. I watched the game Friday night with SFA. I'm like, they look okay, but and they end up pulling away. And
that's why I'm like, I think the Grizzlies are just playing better. Like they just.
But 2 things happened in the brawl in November. Montana State got a pick 6.
Blocked
on
a field goal, on a tip pass and blocked the field goal.
That's a huge deal.
That was the game. It was two really costly mistakes. There was a holding that brought back a Montana touchdown that was kind of like ticky-tacky. Even you're going to have those happen. But I don't know. I'm just like, I'm not feeling like I feel like the Grizz are going to come in and they're playing hot.
I want to say the rating last year for Bison Jacks on ABC was at 11 a.m. Not like this game. It was at 3 o'clock. You're going up against the start of an NFL game, right? You got Eagles Commanders, I think, that are playing in the early window. You've got college football. I think it was Bison last year, Jax. I think it was 157. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was pretty good for considering everything else was happening. Yeah. I'm interested to see what this gets.
I mean, I think you're going to get $500,000 in Montana at least, and then, who knows,
I'd love to see the number in the state of Montana.
It's going to be
the amount
high.
of television sets watching the game is going to be astronomical.
It could be more than that too. I mean, it's the thing it's incredible.
Who's winning the other game?
I mean, you can't pick against Illinois State right now.
I agree.
But Villanova, they're playing really passionately.
There's some symmetry there if it's Villanova and Montana.
Yeah, like the 09.
Yeah.
I'd like another shot at that game.
In the state of Tennessee, the championship game would be as well.
Everything is a parallel. But no, I can't pick against the Redbirds. They're just playing really, really well. SPAC's got them I don't know. They're a fun story, and they've just really hit their stride. And it feels weird not having a Valley team. If we get there and it's like that streak ends, it's
Valley,
just like
Valley's been there every year since 2010. So
and I don't know. They're playing really well.
And this would be the third year in a row we'd have a Big Sky Valley championship game, because obviously the Grizz and Jacks did it last year. The Cats and
Cats
NDSU
have done it a couple years with NDSU, and so I just don't see that ending. I guess so. I think. I'll take Illinois State.
So are you shutting the phone off? Like any communications, like Saturday at like 2:45? Like
I don't think I can.
Going dark?
No, because there's going to be a lot of crosstalk going on during the game. It's going to be like I'm not going anywhere. Like it's like if you need me for any reason in that 3 or 4 hours, just like
don't.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll leave if my house catches fire. We might just.
Email comes in. Dom, can't wait for ABC to join in progress the game well in the first quarter. OT basketball game. Do you know the program schedule? I do. The college football playoff game is on before that. Miami and Texas A&M, but that starts at 11.
Yeah.
That's 4 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I know college football goes long. That game will be done by 2:30.
Last weekend,
you'll be fine.
With the Celebration Bowl, we
did go long.
Yeah, we were on ESPN News for the first quarter, which was fine.
Yeah.
But it was just it's like come on.
Let's go, right?
Quarterfinal. Yeah, let's go.
All right.
And, this is going to be it'll
be fun, man.
It's going to be a fun game.
Yep.
It's going to be wild there.
Brawl of the Wild, in fact.
Yeah.
Have a great game. Enjoy it. And thanks for coming by. And if I don't see you before, have a great holiday as well. Let's see if it's a better holiday if the Grizz win on Saturday, right?
Merry Grizmas, yeah.
Drew Trafton joining us each and every Wednesday at 9:20. We'll break. We come back. You'll meet the new man who's leading Bismarck State's football team. Chris Stutzriem will join us on the other side of the break. That's coming up when we come back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Wednesday show off and rolling. Bill Connelly from ESPN joining us here in about 20 minutes. Chat about the SP Index. We'll get into it. It's pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff out in the capital city yesterday. We've been following this for the better part of a year when we heard that Bismarck State was going to go from a 2-year school to a 4-year school. And they were going to also bring back football, which we found that out earlier this year, and now they have their first coach in over 4 decades. Chris Stutzriem is coming from Rocky Mountain College in Billings to take over as the new head football coach of the Mystics, and he joins us this morning on what's probably been a hellacious, crazy last 48 hours. First off, congratulations. Tell me about this opportunity. What you were coaching at another school. What made you say, I want to leave that position to take this job?
I think it starts with when Bismarck State talked about adding football, you start looking at schools that maybe you're going to play against. Maybe you're in your same conference, right? How do you beat them? How do you what are there going to be their recruiting ways that they get guys? How does cost look? All those types of things. I mean, you do your research on them, and then it turned into, okay, I've been to Bismarck, a handful of times, really like the area. Man, this school's got a lot of things going for it. And so it kind of started, last year of just doing research on a new program. And then, in the last 10 days roughly, it kind of heated up, and then it turns into, man, this could be a really good opportunity. And I was very fortunate. I got to work, be the head coach at Rocky Mountain College for 7 years, and worked for great people. We had great kids in our program. The staff was phenomenal. I mean, just a lot of great things there. Nothing bad to say about that place. But you get to, just like anybody else with any other job, you get to a spot where you're like, man, this might be a right move. And so there was a lot of little things that played into it, and very excited to be here and get started and bring this program back after 40 years.
I'm interested, Chris, like, what was your first question? Like, hey, where are we playing? Like, what players, like, can you give me the outline of what you asked BSC?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was, what's the timeline of events, right? Is it, I know we're not playing until 2027, but what's the timeline that I can hire a staff? When do you want recruits in? When do you, and what's great is they're open, they're listening, we're communicating well on what we think needs to happen to be successful. Everybody kind of talks to me about, man, you got to order uniforms and helmets, and that's the easy stuff. All I do is, if at Rocky we were buying 12 helmets a year, this time you just put another one in front of it. It's the same helmet. You don't design 115 different helmets. So that's the easy stuff, right? The uniforms and all that. But now it's kind of more of getting to know how a kid's going to be successful here. What majors can he dive into? When can I get my staff here? And those things. And, the Community Bowl is a tremendous stadium already. Campus is booming and growing with the Babendick Center, building a new dorm that'll be open in 2027. I mean, that's just the exciting stuff. So really it's just about getting to know how we can be successful here. Every place, every city, every school, everything has, certain things that you got to work on. And, but people so far have been tremendous of, Coach, what can we do for you? What are things that made successful? What are things we need to steer away from? So that's been a huge success so far.
Did they give you a timeline, like when you can start doing any of those things you were asking?
Oh yeah. That was pretty hit on with early talks and with the athletic director and the administration, and so we'll have some new coaches on here in January, and then adding more here in a couple months, and kind of getting that stuff going. But we're going to bring in, we're hitting the ground running recruiting. The biggest thing was yesterday was making sure I knew where my office was and how my ID card and all the emails and all that stuff. And so we're going to hit the ground running and try to bring in a class of around 30 guys that'll start in fall of 26. And then and it's just talking to them about, hey, this is going to be your redshirt year, right? And any coach across the country would much rather play with 21 and 22-year-olds instead of 18-year-olds. That's the reality. They may not say that, but that's what they everybody does, right? So that's the first thing, is making sure we bring in the right guys, this class and every class, but communicating with them. And man, this is a great opportunity. You're going to go down in the record books no matter what. Let's just make it a good record.
I'm interested, how much did you know about BSC having football in the past, and where they were successful in tying into that, say, we can win here once we get things going?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, again, you start doing research and you find yourself, just like anything else, searching the web and looking at, okay, one thing that caught me off guard was, when they were a 2-year school playing against 4-year programs. Yeah. And it makes sense now, right? You're sitting there going, well, duh, who else are they going to kind of play against? But that was interesting for me. And, the alumni base, there are probably some guys that are a little bit older, but that's okay. We're excited for that. And so you do a lot of research on it. And, I'm sitting there going, okay, I wasn't alive when they had football before. And then you start talking to other coaches, throughout the country. And I'm good friends with a lot of people that started a program. So the biggest thing for me is, hey, what did you do that, man, God, we shouldn't have done that, or I would have changed it. And so that's what you start doing. You lean on each other. And so there's some guys that I know that have been a part of that. And so I'll reach out to them. And, the administration here at Bismarck State has been just phenomenal. I've been fortunate. Rocky Mountain College, the administration was phenomenal, made the decision really tough. But you collaborate together. You talk about, hey, this is what, I kind of need right now. This is what we can hold off on. But yeah, you do your research on the history. And I want to incorporate some of the history with, whether it's uniforms or how they did things or stuff like that. So that's more of getting with the alumni and talking to them about, hey, come back. We want to hear from you. We want to see you. What made you guys successful? What can we grow on?
We talked plenty this fall with the Frontier obviously expanding and adding in Mayville State and Valley City State, Dickinson State. You're in the league. Now coaching with Bismarck State. Describe, full well what you're getting yourself into. What kind of challenge awaits in the league since obviously you were coaching there for the last 7 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that was one of the things that drew me to Bismarck State because I love the Frontier Conference. I think it's one of the best, if not the best in the NAI. You've got a lot of quality teams and opponents that stretch from Arizona to California to North and South Dakota and everywhere in between. And so, again, that's I know where we're going to travel. I know where we're going to stay in hotels. I know, the landscape of it, which helps. And then the coaches and things like that. But it's a good league. I mean, it's challenging every week. We got to build depth. We've got to stay healthy and doing those things. And those are usually the teams and you got to run the football, and you got to stop the run on defense. And so those are all the things that we're going to take into account in recruiting and setting up offense and defense.
The question I would have, Chris, is there enough players here in North and South Dakota, Montana, to get to Bismarck, knowing Valley's got a program, Mayville's got better, Dickinson's always good? Is there Jamestown now has moved up, Mary, Minot? Is there enough guys, do you think, that you can find locally to play?
Yeah, I think, we're obviously going to start right here in the city of Bismarck. And I'm not going to sit here and say every kid's going to be a North Dakota kid or, within 5 hours, but we want to win our home base and make sure those are the right fits. And, whether I was at Rocky or Southwestern Oklahoma State or South Dakota, wherever, you're always going to have those, coach, why didn't you go after this kid? Well, maybe he was looking for something else academically. Maybe he wanted to get away. Maybe, there's a lot of factors that play into it, but we're always going to start at our home base. And, there's going to be times where you bring somebody in from Arizona or California or Texas or wherever it is. And again, it's just finding the right kid that fits our program. I don't care where you're from, what you look like, who you are, things like that. I want to find the right fit. And I thought we did a really good job of that at Rocky.
So I'm just curious, what's 1A when you're done with me? What's on the to-do list today?
So yesterday was pretty much all the onboarding things and, sat at my desk and went, okay, here we go. I think the biggest thing is getting out and making sure, I want to become a recruit. I need to get with admissions. I need to walk around campus, looking at, I've got a pretty good handle on, majors and how do we get kids here. And, for outside areas, you look at, hey, this is, maybe there's a direct flight. But the first thing I'm going to do is reach out to the head coaches here in Bismarck and just kind of introduce myself, try to get, after maybe the first of the year, I know it's kind of a tough time right now, but get as many coaches from North Dakota on a Zoom call and just introduce myself so they know me. But then behind the scenes, it's recruiting. It's finding those kids that want to be a part of something special here. And so it's a little bit of everything. It's also going and finding a place to live.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not in a hotel. And so I'll actually be at the national championship game for the NAI. I'm a vice president on the coaches board. So I leave tomorrow for that for a couple days. And, but again, they're going to have to be okay with me working and not completely focused on Kaiser and Grandview.
I'm interested just the level of excitement around town that you've been in there in Bismarck. Is there a general sense of that? What have you gotten over the last 48 hours since you've been in town?
Yeah, campus has been amazing. You're sitting there going through all the onboarding stuff, and they bring up kind of the network, the announcements within the college, and the guy that was going over it was like, oh, it kind of looks like Twitter, the Twitter feed and X feed. And he goes, oh, there's the announcement that you're our head coach. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm here. So, but even at the gas station last night, stopped to get a Coke Zero. And the guy's like, oh, are you traveling? No, I'm the new head football coach. Oh man, we're so excited. And we've got to keep that going. A lot of people love the announcement. A lot of people love, okay, we got this, but how do we keep that excitement growing and going until the first game? right? That's going to build the foundation from the alumni, from the people in the city, and we've got to keep it going. So hopefully I can, do the weather like Mike Leach did on the news and get out in front of as much people and going to high school basketball games and wrestling and getting my face out there so people are comfortable with me.
Couple things before we let Chris go. What kind of football, if you were to say right now, if anybody's watching, what kind of football player are you looking for?
So the 4 things that I always believe in is character, accountability, relentless, and discipline. Those are the things that I want in a young man. And then, we got to be physical and we got to be tough. We kind of recruit the 2 out of the 3 things, whether you're fast, physical, or have football intelligence. You got to have 2 out of those 3 things. If you're not the fastest player, that's okay. You better be tough as nails and have some football IQ or football intelligence as we go about it. But, finding guys that they know that this is the greatest place in the world, where they come in and they're not going to be wearing other people's gear and other colleges. And they're not saying, well, I'm this Division I team fan. No, you're a Bismarck State Mystic. And, that's the kind of guy that we want. But we want those tough guys that I don't care if it's 5 degrees out or 105 degrees out. It doesn't matter. We're going to put the ball down and play football.
Last thing, from your time in Montana, I got to ask, you've been there, you live there. How big a deal is Saturday? I mean, can you give us for here in North Dakota what we're in store for watching this game Saturday in Bozeman?
I always laugh everywhere I go. I'm from Oklahoma originally, so they don't say Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. They say the Sooners and the Cowboys. Yeah. And at Montana and Montana State, it's the Cats and the Grizz. And it's huge. I got to say both those staffs at Montana State were tremendous to us. They're just good people. They're inviting when we want to go to camps. They're open and honest. I mean, I've talked to Coach Deegan multiple times, just running things off of them. And boy, it's a heated rivalry. You pick one side or the other. You don't see a lot of houses divided. It's a house that is solely together. And so I think it's going to be a great game. But that is a huge thing. And so playing twice in a year, I know all well about that with the Frontier. Yeah. It'll be fun. But that's one part about being in this part of the country. People care about their football. They do, and they love it, and they back them. And so I want to continue to hopefully get that here at Bismarck State. So it'll be a fun game.
Chris, thanks so much for doing this, bud. Congratulations. We look forward to interviewing you as you go along here. Have a great holiday, and we'll talk again soon, okay? You too. I appreciate it. Chris Stutzriem joining us, the new head football coach of Bismarck State. The Mystics will play their first game in the fall of 2027. That, again, will be at the Community Bowl, and a lot of anticipated people. I know just visiting around here, and I know certainly for our viewing audience in Bismarck and Mandan, they are very excited about football being back. Good stuff there. All right, we're overdue for a break. We caught up here. Bill Connelly from ESPN going to join us at 10 o'clock. Chat about FCS football and the SP rankings. We'll get into that when we come back on a Wednesday morning after this. All right, our first hour in the books. We come back. Bill Connelly from ESPN joins us on the SP Plus rankings and what we got coming up this weekend in college football. It's coming up when we come back.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll on this Wednesday morning. Bison Media Zone coming up in about a half hour. Grant Olson, NDSU's defensive coordinator, will join us here in studio. Looking forward to that conversation in just a little bit. I'm really looking forward to our next guest joining us because we've been mentioning and referencing him all fall long when we saw the SP Plus rankings come out. He is the creator of it. He's an author as well. He writes for ESPN College Football. Bill Connelly joins us here this morning to dive into the SP Plus Index. I'm fascinated with it. I could spend like 15 minutes on it. I won't do too much on it. But you do have a new book out as well about the future of college football, which we talk about all the time here. So simple, I'd ask, where are we going? Like in 2026, like this time next year, where are we going to be at with college football?
Yeah, it's called Forward Progress, the definitive guide to the future of college football. And I did not give that title or come up with that title because there's nothing definitive about the future of college football. We kind of know where the winds are blowing, but the winds change sometimes. And, it feels like there's kind of a lot of discontent about this and that. That can build on itself, or at least it can in other sports. European soccer fans complain and get what they want all the time. We just complain. We don't go too far in one direction in terms of protests. So yeah, I'm really curious. But the idea of the book was simply to kind of lay out all these different things that are changing at once, and kind of talk about, whether it's conference realignment, whether it's television, whether it's this or that, and just kind of talk about where things stand in that regard, and then kind of try to push things forward and talk about where things could or should go, even though in the moment we kind of know where things are, how the wind's blowing.
All right, let's hit right away, because obviously in the wake of Notre Dame's opting out, everyone thinks this is the end of the bowl games. I work in television. People still watch them, though, Bill. They're getting like 5 to 6 million viewers. The bowl games aren't going anywhere if people are still watching them.
No, that's always been, it has kind of gone back to the original, like what we thought of bowls in the 50s in terms of here's an exhibition game to celebrate a good season for anybody who's willing to play in it, more or less. Teams opted out all the time. They had to go down the list sometimes to find a team willing to go to Miami for a week or whatever. And so we've almost kind of come back to that in some regard. And I don't mind it. Obviously, bowls aren't what they used to be in terms of importance. I honestly think having the quarterfinals in bowl sites hurts the bowls even further, because nobody's going to remember who won the Peach Bowl this year. They're just going to remember, well, I guess that's a semifinal, but Cotton Bowl or something. They're just going to remember the neutral site quarterfinal in Dallas. And so I almost feel like if we pulled those games, would Notre Dame have immediately opted out of a bowl if they were looking at maybe an Orange Bowl against Michigan? Maybe. They were pretty mad, and kind of justifiably. Yep. But I do wonder about that. I do think we could almost make those bowls better by not making them part of the playoff.
The big question is, this time next year, are we at 6? Oh, hold on, I think you froze up there for a second. So hopefully we'll get it back here in a sec. Because obviously, there you go. The big question I know going forward for next year is, are we going to be at 16 teams, which nobody knows? We have to decide between now and I think middle of January. What's your gut telling you there? We get 16 and we stay at 12 or 24?
I would assume. I've actually come to like 12 quite a bit, just because it keeps the bar pretty high. But I think we all assume it's going to 16. It's driven me absolutely nuts that we didn't just go ahead and decide it 2 years ago. Yeah. My manuscript for the book was due in May, and I was just I just thought April at latest. Well, they'll have this figured out, and I'll be able to put it in the book. And nothing, no such thing. We still haven't decided it. So it's just been drawn out, and I do think we're going to get there eventually. And that's fine. I've never had a problem with 16. Obviously, I love the small school playoffs. Even though, if we go to 24 or whatever, like the Big Ten wants, the stupid auto bids thing is going to come up. So I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah. But no, I think we're going to get there, and it's crazy that we're just going to take our time getting there.
The test balloon I keep hearing this weekend is that if James Madison and Tulane get run out, that the group of 5 are going to get eliminated from it. As far as I know, they're contractually obligated to be there until the Big Ten and SEC go otherwise. Can you expound on that a little bit? Because I keep hearing that theme this week. If JMU gets blown out, that's it for the little guys.
Yeah, well, I've heard that too, and it's harkening back to the BCS days, where every single time the formula produced something we didn't like, we immediately changed the formula and changed. And we already 1 year into the 12-team playoff, we got rid of the auto bids for the conference champions, which meant that Indiana versus Ohio State. Granted, it was an amazing moment for Indiana. It had no stakes for the playoff whatsoever. Yep. It was just who gets one and who gets Texas Tech and who gets Georgia, basically. So we just react so fast, and this would be absolutely nuts. You're right. There is a contractual obligation. Obviously, they can probably speed up when that contract runs out if they want to. But it would, among all other things, the fact that JMU got in instead of Duke, for instance, JMU would be favored against Duke. Oregon would be a bigger favorite over Duke. This made the playoff better, technically. Yes. Plus, access is great for the sport. Even if, whoever gets that 10, 11, 12 seed, they're going to have like a 0.1% chance of winning the title. So make it look like there's actual access to the sport. That seems like a great thing to me.
Fans in Fargo are used to a 24-team playoff on a bracket where there's a committee that selects the team. There are automatic bids. There are 11 automatic bids and 13 at-larges in the current FCS playoff format. What is so hard about that the big boys don't want to do, I guess?
Yeah, that is. We always act like FBS is completely different than anything else, whether it's any other sport, whether it's FCS, D2, D3, NAIA, high school, NFL, even. Like it just, we always act like it's different, and it just doesn't have to be. The playoffs are so much fun. Even when we get a bunch of first round blowouts at FCS, the playoff itself is a lot of fun, and we just have to always overthink things and be different.
I just don't get that. So yesterday, you tweeted out the ACC put out its football schedule for next year, and you tweeted out put JMU in the ACC, and we're out here, and NDSU fans are clamoring. I think there's a good majority of trying to get in to the Mountain West Conference. Your SP Plus rankings this year had North Dakota State, I think, at 35, 36 at its highest rank. First off, how did you come about? Because this isn't just like for Division I. This is all 766 teams. How did you come about finding a ranking system, and how do you base it on?
Well, once I'd come up with FCS and all the lower levels, when I came up with SP Plus ratings for those, I started to realize I have adjustments for when an FBS team plays an FCS team, so I could technically mash all of those together and have one list. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, I have FCS to D2 and D2 to D3 and so to NAIA. So why don't I just have fun and do it all? And it was just kind of on a lark the first time. I just thought it would be funny to put it all together and, top 760, whatever. I thought that'd be fun. It got such a reaction that I was immediately pretty much committed to doing it every week from that point forward. So I am curious at the end of this year. I have to go back and revisit now that we saw such a talent drain from FCS going up to FBS. Yep. I have to make sure that my adjustments, like 28 points for an FBS to FCS game, got to make sure that's still right. I don't think it is. So that'll change things, and maybe NDSU ends up a little lower, but it's just a lot of fun. I mean, you watch 5 seconds of high-level FCS football, you realize there's really no difference between that and low-level P5 or P4 or high-level G5. It's good football.
How do you do the predictive part of this, the formula? Can you explain that for people that we featured it on the show all year? And I can't explain it. You're the guy who created it, so you can tell us.
Well, for FBS, it's a relatively complicated setup in terms of, using a bunch of the play-to-play or the play-by-play data, coming up with success rates and whatnot, all these things. Obviously, like for lower levels, it's a lot harder to piece that information together. But I started to realize one time when I was first fiddling with FCS that if I just use points scored and allowed, kind of tamp down the outliers and whatnot, like it's pretty good. Like it predicts games pretty well. Further down you go, it's a lot harder. But FCS, it does pretty well. And so it just kind of started with that. Instead of creating this complicated game score like I do in FBS, just point scored and allowed, and don't give too much credit if you randomly score 77 or something, and you end up with a pretty good number.
Did you have Illinois State over North Dakota State a couple weeks ago?
I had North Dakota State like just romping to the title. So this was, I ended up I made a cardinal error when it was 28-14, like late in the fourth. I'm like, all right, I'm walking the dogs. This one's over. And then by the time I got home, they had lost. So, and it was, just an incredible performance for Illinois State. Not only the upset, but just dominance defensively. I didn't see that coming at all, and I don't think there was a number in the world that would have seen that coming.
So for your predictive rankings, just based on this year, how many on average? Because frankly, the games are getting less and less between FBS and FCS. It's going that way that they're being encouraged not to play those games because the CFP wants better games. How many FCS teams would win against if they had the opportunity to play a lower level Power 4 team?
Yeah, I still think, if we pull up the rankings, I think the most recent rankings, you do have NDSU in the 30s. You got Tarleton in the 80s, Lehigh, Montana State, North Dakota, something like that in the 90s. So if you're talking about a power conference team, there are, the Michigan States and Cals this year obviously are extremely beatable. Yep. But it's not a huge number that would probably be able to, without massive upset circumstances, be able to knock off a higher level team. But App State still beat Michigan that one time. Like upsets still happen in those games. You watch just in case.
I'm looking as well your D2 rankings, and that's another really fascinating thing to me because the amount of D2 teams that could whip FCS teams is quite high. Ferris State, Harding, those teams would beat 30% of FCS teams, if not more.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a really interesting year. It felt like maybe this is a consequence of the rosters being able to fall apart the way they do. Is the lowest level teams, even at the P4 level, were really, really poor this year, and it resulted in some funny point spreads, like Ferris State being a favorite over Ball State. Things like that. That again, I'll adjust these things and make sure they're accurate. But the lowest ranked teams in FBS were really, really low.
And like I look at a Minnesota State Mankato, who is traditionally really good. They would be favored probably certainly against some FCS teams and potentially like some bad MAC teams, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no question about that. And this is all, as a soccer person, I always just randomly bring up promotion and relegation. And this is why there's a lot of blended in the levels. You could, rise and see how far you can go. It'd be a lot of fun, but obviously that's probably not in the cards.
I'm interested, either reaction you got out of Fargo or the FCS level when seeing these put out there. What did you get this year, if any?
Well, I mean, NDSU fans, especially early on, like obviously not after the loss, but they were certainly using that as ammo for this is where we gotta go, we gotta move up, we gotta go somewhere else. Yeah. And I have no idea what the administration. I know the administration wasn't interested in that a few years ago, but I don't know. I think this year, the way this playoff has turned out, no matter who I'm speaking to right now, I think it was a very good thing to have a blip year. Blip years, I feel like, are life givers. We haven't had one at the FBS level for quite a while, like 07, I guess. But those years where suddenly everyone's reminded, we can still do some damage here. We don't just have to forfeit this over to the 2 powers or 1 power this year. I think that's really good for the sport, and I'm really curious who takes the best advantage of it here.
Predictively, when you look at this, if North Dakota State were to make it to the Mountain West Conference, you just look in your analytics and what you've done, how successful could they be?
They'd be like, if they were in the Mountain West next year, so the Mountain West, not even the Pac-12, just the Mountain West with UNLV and everything, they'd start off, they're almost even with UNLV right now. Maybe that goes down when I make those adjustments. They'd be top 3. They'd be projected as top 3. Obviously, South Dakota State fell off. It's hard to get a read on them since they spent half the season with a backup quarterback and completely fell apart and then seemed pretty good again. But with NDSU, they would be right there. You never know how a team handles a grind, having to go up and face more top 80-ish teams. JMU surely handled it pretty well. Other teams have handled it pretty well. So you figure, aside from the little greater travel cost, it seems like they do pretty well.
I look at, Bill, Missouri State. Missouri State was awful in FCS football, right? They're going to play tomorrow night in a bowl game. They won 7 games this year. I think for fans here, and the Bison pounded Missouri State for years, that's the greatest example of, that the success can happen at the next level. It doesn't take that much, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you don't have to change all that much about what you're doing to at least get a footing. Like, obviously, Conference USA is not a great conference. So Missouri State had a lot of, and they won a lot of close games. They got in the door that way. Going to a Mountain West, would be at least a little bit more of a step up. But again, JMU walked in the door to a really competitive Sun Belt conference and immediately gravitated towards the top. Yeah. So if you know what you're doing, then there is absolutely a path for quick success.
How big a deal is it if James Madison were to somehow win this game, what that does for college football going forward?
That's and I have my preview coming out tomorrow, and I talk about this a little bit. But in the NCAA tournament, this is basically in terms of power ratings. Oregon JMU is like a 1 versus 8 second round game in the NCAA tournament, or 2 versus 7, 2 versus 10, something in that neighborhood. We have, we get 8 1 and 2 seeds every single year in the NCAA tournament. One of them probably going to lose every single year. They almost never all make it to the Sweet 16. But in college football, we get 1 shot a year, and so this is like a 1 and 8 game for JMU. If you get that 1, I think it changes the perceptions a ton. But if we get an Oregon blowout instead, it really is. It feels like we need kind of a miracle here pretty soon if we want to keep the balance the way we do. And I love the Big Tent. I love the way FBS is structured now. And we need an upset pretty fast, I think.
How about FCS-wise, predictively? What are you seeing? Who wins the games this weekend before we let you go?
Piecing together my semifinal preview now, and right now from an odds perspective, it's Montana State, just home field advantage over Montana this weekend, and a 40% chance of winning the title. Montana's second at 27%, and Villanova 21%, and Illinois State at 12%. So, and I mean, SP Plus is behind. Illinois State just clicked a few weeks ago, and so they've obviously been overachieving against projections. But just based on the year as a whole, it's pretty clear Brawl of the Wild winner is going to be a heavy favorite.
Bill, this was awesome. I really appreciate you doing this. Thanks so much for the time. Enjoy the weekend, and hopefully we can chat again soon, okay?
Sounds good.
Appreciate it. There he goes, Bill Connelly from ESPN. He's creator of the SP Plus Index. It's really, really fast. And I think we got a quick video we can show before we go to break. Like, this is the listing of the teams that he has in the bracket form. And it's, I mean, like, that's all the teams. That's 766 teams. North Dakota State is way over there at 36 on the left side of your screen. That's where the Bison were ranked. Highest, obviously, of any FCS team. And I know it's deep in the weeds of analytics, but he goes into predictive scoring. Honestly, it bore out. And you heard him say that they'd be in the top 3 of the Mountain West. UNLV won 9 games, I want to say, this year. I mean, come on. Let's do this. Good stuff there. All right, we're overdue. We'll take our final break. We got some breaking Minnesota Twins news, ownership news to share. We'll do that. We'll wrap it up with the Bison Media Zone coming up here in just a little bit as well. Back on Hot Mic to wrap up our Wednesday show right after this. All right, wrapping things up here. Bison Media Zone coming up in a few minutes. We finally have some Minnesota Twins news to share outside of the, huge signing of Josh Bell the other day. We now know the limited partners. This came out when? July? Right before they traded away half the team. Here's the official email from the Twins that following approval from Major League Baseball, the Pohlad family today proudly announced the addition of limited partners to the Minnesota Twins ownership group. Principal investors include Glick Family Investments and George G. Hicks, investing alongside several prominent Minnesota business leaders. Craig Leopold, the majority owner and principal investor in the Minnesota Wild, is also joining independently as a limited partner. In conjunction with the transaction, the franchise plans to incorporate a new leadership structure with Tom Pohlad succeeding Joe, who's the former executive chair, in overseeing the Twins organization. Pending MLB approval, Tom Pohlad will also succeed Jim Pohlad, becoming the franchise's controlling person and serving as the primary liaison to the league. There's a lot of words in that. My guy Grant Olson is here, a diehard Twins fan as you are.
Yes.
You excited about this? They actually have limited partners now in?
I would think so. It's good news. You got direction for the ownership. I don't know. I'm not the ownership guru of
you love the Twins,
sports,
though, man. I mean, how much does this kill you to see what's going on with this team right now?
Well, when they haven't played well, it's certainly not a lot of fun. I grew up listening to games, going to games. Yeah. I still will never forget in high school $4 student tickets with $1 Dome Dogs.
Yeah, right.
So a $4 student ticket and $3 Dome Dogs for $7, and you had one heck of an evening.
Heaven.
That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
But Target Field is fantastic. I mean, you've had the pleasure of obviously going to games. You've coached a football game there. Yep. It's a fabulous place, and it's going to stink come July when it's half empty.
Yes.
Or half full, I guess. That might be stretching it this year. We don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least there's a little excitement on that. All right, we'll talk all football stuff here in the next bit. I want to bend your ear on all Minnesota stuff. The Wild are humming.
Yes.
The Wolves are going.
Yep.
Excited about that. The Vikes are what they are. It's another disappointing year there. What do you make of the Minnesota franchises at right now?
Man, great question. Well, number one, thinking about the Vikings, they've kind of been on a really interesting, really good year, not so good year, really good year, not so good year. And I think that just happens. I mean, the margins are so small in the NFL particularly, and I obviously know that just because getting a chance to study a little bit, but I think that they're a well-run organization. Just from the outside looking in, the older that I get, the more that I realize of just your ownership and your leadership and all those things matter so much. I have, yes.
How was that?
It was good. He's way bigger in person.
He's a big dude,
He's huge. Yeah, he's really tall and really friendly. He was at the Roger Maris.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And anyway, when Coach Paulson got hurt and hurt the shoulder, I ended up stepping in.
You had to step up.
I had to step in, so I got a chance to meet him. And I mean, couldn't have been a nicer guy.
Yeah.
And truly, I was really impressed with just how complimentary he was of just, hey, like, I know I don't study everything about college football, but you guys are impressive, and it's nice to meet you.
That's cool.
And I just thought that was pretty awesome. Yeah.
So the Vikes are what they are, and it's obviously this it goes with the quarterback. If the quarterback plays well, then your team has a good chance to win. JJ's played better the last couple games, and obviously they've won those couple games.
Absolutely. I just look at, and I don't know. I'm not, I don't know the finances about stuff. I was probably a little bit surprised that they didn't sign Sam Darnold.
Bring Darnold back. Yeah.
He had a great year, and I don't know if there's one thing that I know, it's exactly what you said, is make sure you got a quarterback that's playing well. And they must have had a lot of confidence in their process to be able to go out and do something different. And I will say, I do think he's a really good coach. And again, the organization's ran well. So I think you got to trust him, and I think you got to give him a little bit of time.
All right. Wolves I know how much you love watching them play. Ants, hopefully we get back soon here, maybe tonight. We'll see. They're humming along. I'm looking forward to the second half there. They didn't do a whole lot in the offseason, so I don't know if they're Oklahoma City's still really, really good. The top of the wet. I mean, look at the Spurs with Wemby. That's going to be a challenge in the second half of the year.
I think that's going to be a huge challenge. And just watching it, I was so impressed last year with number one, of some of the success that they had, and all of a sudden you get into playoff mode, and again, you never know what happens.
Right?
And they turned it on, and all of a sudden they started playing really well. But man, the Thunder are tough to beat. They are one heck of a team. I was incredibly impressed with, SGA and just his ability to score. And it's one of those, Ant's clearly the more explosive athlete. And I just always naturally, I'm watching stuff, I'm like, okay, man, if that kid was in high school, I'm taking him. But
right.
There's someone that just can't replace producing and being really darn good. And I think that's one of the things that everybody overlooks. And I'll just mention recruiting. Everybody gets so involved with 6'2" and a 40 time, and all these extra factors. And well, don't ever forget that guy that just finds a way to be incredibly productive. And anyway, that's what makes him great. And I just have a tremendous amount of respect for it. I really do. SGA is incredible.
When you were still in high school, could you just go up and go sit anywhere at Target Center? Because the Wolves were bad then.
Yeah,
right?
You definitely could. But when I was growing up, when I was really in my Timberwolves heyday,
KG was
it was
right?
Kevin Garnett for MVP. I have the T-shirt.
Nice.
And I will never forget. I used to fall, and my parents used to get mad at me, but I would fall asleep listening to Timberwolves games on the radio.
That's
that's
awesome.
truly. I was a kid that
really
did that back in the day. And anyway, all of a sudden you woke up in the morning and the radio was still on. Turned it off, kept sleeping. Good times.
So when they brought back the Trees jerseys this year, you had to be in front of the line of that then, right?
Loved them. Absolutely. Old school. I'm just anything that, honors the past and get a cool new look. I love it.
It's pretty cool. All right, we got some business to do, and then we'll get to Grant here. Let's do some what to watch before we get out of here on this Wednesday. This is right up Gio's alley. The Wolves play tonight, 7 o'clock against the Grizzlies. I don't know if they're going to get Ja Morant to come to play for Minnesota. 7 o'clock on FanDuel Sports North for that. We got 2 bowl games tonight. You remember Delaware? Guys pounded Delaware out there. 2019?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, I do. I remember them very well.
Now an FBS team. They're taking on Louisiana, 7:30 on ESPN. And then Old Dominion in South Florida. Yeah, you got bowl games in the middle of the day, 4 o'clock on ESPN. All right, we got to roll. That'll wrap up Hot Mic for the day. Our thanks to Drew Trafton, new Bismarck State head football coach Chris Stutzriem, and Bill Connelly from ESPN. If you missed any of it, we can podcast it later. We come back. Grant Olson joins us, Bison Media Zone, on the Bison season and what's coming up. That's coming up when we come back.